Roger that. Okay, good evening, everyone. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? And Councilman Lombardi, would you lead us this evening? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just ask for a moment of silence to remember those men and women who are protecting our freedoms around the world, especially this coming Memorial Day. We thank them for their service to our country and taking them away from their families and loved ones for our veterans.
Okay, thanks, Frank. Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here this evening. Thank you all at home for watching this meeting of the Town Board of the Town of Carmel. Today's date is Wednesday, May 24th, 2017. And tonight's meeting, we have a public hearing is the first item on the agenda. And then we have a resolution for a special voting meeting accepting a proposal for the stocking of triploid carp in Lake Mahopac. And then we have 6 items on the agenda for our Town Board work session this evening. So for the record, all board members are present with the exception of Councilman Schneider. He could not be with us tonight as he has a family matter that he's attending to this evening. All the way down to my right is Phyllis Borges. She's our Deputy Town Clerk. All the way down to my left is our Deputy Town Council, Joe Charbonneau. Joe, thanks for being here.
No problem.
And we have Mary Ann Maxwell, the Town Comptroller, is in the audience. She's got 2 items that she's going to be presenting at tonight's work session as well. So let's get started. The first item is a public hearing on a proposal for a local law amending Chapter 156 of the Code of the Town of Carmel entitled Zoning by the addition of Section 156-39.5 entitled Coops and Attached Runs for Chickens. So at this time, I'm going to ask our Deputy Town Clerk to read the notice of the public hearing. Phyllis?
Notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given that the Town Board of the Town of Carmel will conduct a public hearing at the Town Hall, 60 McAlpin Avenue, Mahopac, New York, 10541 on Wednesday, May 24th, 2017 at 7 p.m. or as soon thereafter that evening as possible on a proposed local law amending Chapter 156 of the Code of the Town of Carmel entitled Zoning by the addition of Section 156-39.5 entitled Coops and Attached Runs for Chickens as follows. Town of Carmel, proposed local law, and this will be number 3 if it is adopted tonight, of the year 2017. A local law amending Chapter 156 of the Code of the Town of Carmel entitled Zoning. Be it enacted by the Town Board of the Town of Carmel, County of Putnam, State of New York as follows. Section 1, Purpose. The purpose of this local law is to amend the town code to allow the ownership and the housing of chickens as a permitted accessory use under Chapter 156 of the Town Code of the Town of Carmel entitled Zoning. Section 2, Authority. This chapter is adopted pursuant to the authority of Article 2, Section 10 of the New York State Municipal Home Rule Law. Section 3, Amendment of Chapter 156. The Town Code of the Town of Carmel is hereby amended by the amendment of Chapter 156 entitled Zoning is hereby amended to add Section 156-39.5, which shall read as follows. Section 156-39.5, Coops and Attached Runs for Chickens. Definitions. Coop, a cage or pen designed to contain or house chickens and shall contain all of the following components. Nesting place for each chicken to lay eggs at least 4 inches deep. Elevated roost or perch area for chickens to sleep. Ventilation, insulation to prevent drafts and dampness. Accessibility to eggs and ability to clean out properly. Run, a fenced or fully enclosed area attached to or encompassing a chicken coop in which chickens are allowed to run around and peck.
A co-op for housing chickens and an attached run shall be permitted as an accessory use. The combined square footage of the co-op / run area should be at least 4 square feet for each chicken being kept in this area. Roosters are prohibited. B, no coop or run for housing of chickens shall be located on a lot comprising of less than 40,000 square feet of lot area. A lot may only house a maximum of 6 chickens for every 40,000 square feet of lot area comprising such lot. No lot may house more than 18 chickens in total. C, coops and runs may not be located in any front yard as defined in this chapter. Coops and runs shall be situated completely in a side or rear yard, or at least 15 feet from all rear and side property lines. All coops and runs must be kept clean, neat, and free of debris, and must be in compliance with all state and local laws pertaining to animals generally. E, all coops and any attached runs shall be screened from view at ground level from adjacent lots using a 4-foot to 6-foot fencing, landscaping, or combination thereof, and any screening must be present throughout the year, for example, evergreen landscaping. F, all feed shall be kept in rodent-proof containers. G, all chickens will be contained in coops and runs unless properly sized and in excess of 3 acres. H, any lot which houses chickens pursuant to the terms of this chapter and section shall be required to obtain a permit issued by the town clerk of the town of Carmel. Such permit and application therefore shall be in form and content as prescribed and approved by resolution of the town board of the town of Carmel. I, any such permit issued to the terms of this chapter and section shall require a fee to be established by resolution of the town board of the town of Carmel on an annual basis. J, penalties for offenses. Number 1, any complaint received by the building department or police department pursuant to this chapter pertaining to the cleanliness or sanitary conditions of the run coop may be referred to the Putnam County SPCA for investigation, and who is hereby empowered to enforce any and all violations of this code. Number 2, all persons or entities that shall violate any of the provisions of this chapter shall be found guilty of a violation and shall be punished as follows. Number 1, first offense, a fine not to exceed $50. A second offense not to exceed $100. The third offense or any subsequent offenses by a fine not to exceed $200 or removal of chickens, coops, and runs from said premises, or by both such fine and cessation of use. Number 4, each violation of any provision of this chapter and each week that each such violation shall continue shall be deemed a separate and distinct offense. Number 5, in addition to the above provided penalties and punishments, the town may also maintain an action or proceeding in a court of competent jurisdictions to compel compliance with or to restrain by injunction any violation of this chapter. Section 4, home rule. Nothing in this local law is intended or shall be construed, A, to limit the home rule authority of the town on the state law, to limit the town's discretion in setting fees and charges in connection with any application requiring town approval.
Okay, Section 5 is severability. In any part or provision of this local law or the application thereof to any person or circumstance be adjudged invalid by any court of a competent jurisdiction, such judgment shall be confined in its operation to the part or provision or application directly involved. The controversy in which judgment shall have been rendered and shall not affect or impair the validity of the remainder of this local law or the application thereof to other persons or circumstances. And the town board, the town of Carmel hereby declares that it would have passed this local law or the remainder thereof had such invalid application or invalid provision been apparent. At said public hearing, all interested persons shall be heard on the subject thereof. The town board will make every effort to assure that the public hearing is accessible to the persons with disabilities. Anyone requiring special assistance and/or reasonable accommodations should contact the town clerk. And this is by order of the town of Carmel Town Clerk Ann Spofford. So that's the reading of the notice of the public hearing regarding the chicken coops and runs for chickens law that will be created by the town board and voted on and passed this evening. So thank you, Phyllis. At this time, I'm going to ask the town board for a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so moved by Councilman Lombardi, seconded by Councilwoman McDonough and Councilman Lupinacci. All is in favor? Aye. Okay, at this time, the public hearing is open for this local law that we are going to be considering this evening. If anyone would like to come up this time, Dave? Okay.
Yeah, good evening. I just have one thought, and that's that I think that the 15-foot from the property line is nowhere near enough. If I had that 15 feet from my, my property line, I'd be pretty upset, and maybe from smell, and I don't know about specifically chicken, but the droppings of a lot of birds, if you breathe in the dust or whatever that passes over it, it can cause respiratory diseases and illnesses, and maybe even cancer. I'm not sure about that, but it's not something that you want to be breathing in. And you know, if it's not buried right away and it's 15 feet off your property line and the wind is blowing your way, it's a nightmare. So this person could have 10 acres, but they could put that thing 15 feet from your property line, and that's not too good. That's it.
Okay, great. Thanks, Dave. I do have two people that signed up to speak this evening. Allison Palm Bevilacqua. Is Allison here?
I'm here, yes.
All right. Just, you can come up to the podium, Allison.
I have to pull my stuff up here.
And just, if
Just
you
pull
would,
the mic
Allison,
down.
pull the mic down a little bit, if you would. Thanks. Oh, a little more, Frank. Okay.
Okay, I just had a couple of things that I wanted to bring up. There was a woman who had complained about chickens being in the property next door to her and the smell and everything else. If anyone had looked, her property is less than a half acre, as well as all of her adjacent neighbors are less than a half acre. None of them would be allowed to have it under what you had proposed under that half acre. And if that woman had bothered to bring this problem to the town, it could have been addressed. So I absolutely feel that that argument was completely invalid.
Miss, could you just stay on topic of this law and not what someone else said previously?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Could you please just stay on the topic of this law and not what was said previously? We can't have residents going tit for tat or to make comments against one another. Just whatever's written in this law is what we're discussing right now. What she said is not in this law, so.
Oh,
we
no,
don't-
I
we don't-
understand.
we don't
I
need
understand,
comment.
but
We
I
don't
just wanted to make it clear that that is not an issue.
Okay.
Many people, this gentleman just complained about the smell. If you properly care for a coop, whether you're using PDZ, whether you're taking care of, keeping it clean, whether you're using the diatomaceous earth, all of that would resolve any smell issue. And if it were to be a problem, then it would be a case of neglect. And the town would definitely have to be called in. So smell really is not an issue, as well as the fact that if you've got some kind of a barrier there, that would also provide something that would prevent both smell or dust or anything else from wafting over. I just think that there's many positive reasons to have chickens. Somebody had brought up possibility of the chickens not having enough space, not being treated properly. I can tell you for a fact that everybody in this town that I have met as a result of my job going through houses for insurance, they take care of their animals. There was no concern. There was nobody I felt I had to call animal control on. And with that thought in mind, I don't think we have to worry about people neglecting them and believing that there's a problem before one even exists. I found that very disconcerting. And also, if people are worried about neglect or mistreatment, maybe they need to think about the chickens that they are buying in the store, as well as the eggs that they're buying in the store, because if they're concerned about humane treatment, then they need to take a good hard look at where their products are coming from. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next is Diane, I'm sorry, H-E-I, Hertz? Henry, I'm sorry.
Hi. I'm actually the lady she was referring to. And I think I've spoken with several people on the town board a number of times. Interestingly enough, I thought that the problem had been solved, but the problem actually hadn't been. And even after all these weeks, since it's since we had the last hearing, the town, despite their wonderful employees and compliance officers, has not been able to resolve the issue. So whether I have a half acre and my neighbor might have an acre, so it's still an issue. But regardless of that, I mean, I think that people have the right to seek out organic foods or anything. And I also think that we live in Putnam, and we always say, buy Putnam. There are a lot of farms locally. I don't understand why we don't use them as well. But, so that's always an option for people who can't or don't want to have chickens next to them. But I think respectfully, since it looks like this is going forward, my request would be that we have a full acre, a true acre, not the 40,000 feet, because that's not a true acre. True acre is, I believe, 43560, and I would respectfully request that you have that, as well as having some way to actually follow through on this. Compliance officers are few and far between. How, if they can't monitor what's currently going on, how are they going to monitor all of the other chickens that might be in our area? And I do feel that chickens, just like any animal, should be taken care of. And unfortunately, my neighbor didn't know how to do that, and that's just the way it is. So I think that if we are going to have them, that certainly I respect what you said, which is having more than 15 feet. I'm more than 40 feet, and I still have the issue. So having enough space so that people who are nearby don't have to deal with the chickens if someone's not taking care of them. The other part is if we could have some kind of visual inspection. I understand the law says a permit, and that sounds great if you're going to have this law, which I still oppose. But if you are going to, maybe we could have some kind of visual inspection before someone gets to chickens, so we make sure they have the proper environment and the proper tools and the education to actually have them and have them be healthy. Okay? Thank you. I appreciate your time and attention.
Okay, thank you. Just so everybody's aware, and this law has been thoroughly vetted out. We've taken a lot of input from the residents who've spoken at the previous meetings, and we've incorporated their concerns into this law. And our building and zoning inspector, Mike Carnazza, has also did thorough research on the language that's contained within the law. The town attorney, Greg Fulchetti, reviewed it. So we believe that, over the past several months that this has been discussed, that we've arrived at a law that we believe is a workable law, that it has represented the interest and the concerns of the residents, both for and against. So, we believe that, it's contained within the law. And as far as the permit goes, the chicken coops themselves, under this law, a building permit has to be issued by the building inspector and codes enforcement officer, Mike Carnazza. So Mike, would that require you to go out and inspect the work that was done to make sure that it was built according
Yes,
to
I'm
the law?
gonna make this, a regular shed gets a permit but no CO. But this, we're gonna do a permit and a certificate of compliance to show that they're in compliance with this code. That's the only way that we can make sure that these are gonna be in, at least at that point, in compliance with this code.
Yeah.
There's no other way for me to, I would have to actually physically see it, go in there, take a look and see what they have.
So you are going to physically go
Measure the
see.
property lines, get an idea where the property line is, make
And
sure they're far
reset.
enough away, make sure they have the buffer. So yes, we will be inspecting that.
Okay.
But you don't occupy it, so it's not a CO, it's a CC.
Right. Mike, in the 15-foot setback, what's required for a shed currently?
Depending on the size of the lot, 10 feet, and the size of the shed. If it gets over 150 square feet, you go up to the required setback for
Okay.
that, for all structures.
Right.
That's why we moved it
Moved it
farther away.
Farther away, yeah.
From a
Yeah,
shed.
and I understand it's not a shed, it's going to house animals, it's going to house
And
chickens.
it's movable, that's gonna be
So-
the other, as long as people keep it to 15 feet, because they're gonna move it off of the space where they were doing their
Right.
business.
And you're satisfied with the 15 feet? You're comfortable with that?
I
From a
mean,
building and codes
I
perspective?
have no experience with chickens, so I really
Okay.
don't know what kind of odors. In the beginning, I said I had problems because the ones I got called to obviously smelled. That's why I got called there. So we went out there, they were some bad smells, but if they're gonna be maintained properly, and people say they can keep it that they don't smell, I don't think it's a problem. Except for, do they make noise? I mean, I don't know what
Okay,
kind
and
of
if,
noises.
and if there is excessive odor coming from the chicken coop,
People will
or if the
call me.
animals are being treated improperly, they would call the building department?
Yeah, and I'll forward it to the
SPCA.
Correct.
For a follow-up investigation.
That's correct.
And that would be considered a first offense, right? If the SPCA
If
goes
they-
out or if you go out?
If they find out that there is an issue, that's a first offense. They have to be proved guilty
Okay,
to be an offense.
A violation would be issued, and assuming that they pled guilty or they were found guilty, then a first offense would
Correct.
incur.
Okay.
But it's
And-
not an offense until they are either proved guilty or plead guilty.
Right, exactly. All right, and Joe,
The department would issue a summons.
Right.
They'd have their notice of appearance, they would come to court, they would be advised as to what the charge is against them. They could plead guilty at that point, the maximum fine would be $50 up to.
Oh, Joe, pull your mic over a little. Joe, the building department is would be issuing the notice of violation or the violation if there was one, or is the SPCA, based on their investigation, do they have the authority to issue the violation also?
Based on my reading of the law, that either entity would be able to do that.
Either
I would-
SPCA or the building inspector?
My opinion, what I think it is anything here outside of the cleanliness, mistreatment, things like that, would be me. Okay, so
Right.
if their fence isn't kept up, if they put the building too close to the property line, they roll it over and it's 9 feet away, and we take pictures and we prove that it's there, that's a first offense, or an offense,
All right,
if they get proved guilty.
right, exactly, okay.
Okay.
All right. All right. Is there any other members of the public that would like to come up and speak on this before we close the public hearing? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name's Rob Lena. I've talked to you guys about it a bunch of times, so I'll keep it short and sweet. But basically, every animal poops, we know that. So it's pretty much up to the owner to be responsible. So I really don't see it as a chicken issue as much as a neighbor issue or a person issue. So as long as you have someone who is responsible, they're going to do the right thing. And as much as I dislike the permit and the fee thing, I do think it will, keep people who are serious about it the only ones having chickens, so, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other members of the audience who would like to come up and speak? Yes. Cricket? Hi.
My name is Cricket Dykeman. I've lived in Mayapack forever. I just want to reiterate what everybody else said about the smells and all of that. People who want chickens are serious about it. They're not going to be cruel to their animals. They're going to keep things clean because we all want them and we've all fought for this. So that's basically what I had to say. Well, I have one other question is, has it always been a limit on 18 chickens? Or was that,
0 chickens right now.
well, 0 now, but I was reading in the Mayapack News that there
Yeah,
was a limit of
this-
18.
This law is
We added
18
18.
chickens. That was added after we heard from, through the various public hearings, and we took into consideration, people for and against
Right.
it, and we tried to come up with a happy medium. And we figured 18 would be appropriate.
Okay. And the other question that I had was, I thought if we were going to be building a chicken coop, it didn't have to move? Because if you're going to have, I have 4 acres.
Doesn't have to, but if
It
it's
doesn't
going to
have to.
move and they move it close,
Okay.
that's when it could become
All
an
right,
issue.
I just want a clarification
I didn't
on
mean,
that.
they're not all going to move. But if
Okay,
it is
all
a
right.
movable one,
Okay.
then they would have to comply with the setback at all times, even when they move it. They move it away or move it parallel.
Gotcha. Okay. I just want a clarification on that. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else regarding the chicken coops and the chicken law that the board's going to be considering adopting this evening? Anyone else here? Okay, there being none, I need a motion to close the public hearing.
hearing?
Okay, motion made by Councilman Lombardi, seconded by Councilman Lupinacci to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the public hearing is closed at this time, and we're going to move on to 1A on the agenda this evening. This is the Seeker State Environmental Quality Review Act, EAF review. So, Board, if you pull out 1A out of your packet, and Town Council Joe Charbonneau is going to bring us through Part 2 of the Appendix B of the short environmental assessment form.
Okay, so the board, as lead agency, has a responsibility to go through the impact of the proposed local law, so I'm going to ask a series of 11 questions. Will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulations?
No.
No.
Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land?
No.
Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community?
No.
Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area?
No.
Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure or mass transit, biking, or walkway?
No.
No.
Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonable available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities?
No.
Will the proposed action impact existing public-private water supplies?
No.
Will the proposed action impact existing public-private wastewater treatment utilities?
No.
Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources?
No.
Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources? For example, wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, and fauna?
No.
Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems?
No.
Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health?
No.
Okay, at this point, since the board has answered in the negative with respect to all 11 questions, the board can at this time consider the resolution determining seeker review negative declaration.
Okay, yeah, yes, 1B on the agenda, as council mentioned, is consider resolution determining seeker review is 1B. Councilman Lupinacci, would you read 1B?
Whereas the Town Board of Town of Carmel is considering enacting a local law to protect and enhance the public health and welfare of the Town of Carmel by making miscellaneous revisions and amendment to the Town of Carmel zoning code, Chapter 156, specifically to amend said chapter to provide the addition of Section 156.35-5 entitled Coops and Attached Runs for Chickens. And whereas this local law has been developed to promote and enhance the health, safety, and general welfare of the persons and property of the Town of Carmel, and whereas the project is determined as an unlisted action, and now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to Part 617 of the seeker regulations, the Town of Carmel Town Board hereby designates its intention to serve as lead agency for the seeker review of this unlisted action, and in this capacity will conduct an uncoordinated review. Be it further resolved that pursuant to Part 617 of the implementing regulations pertaining to Article 8, State Environmental Quality Review Act of the Environmental Conservation Law, the lead agency has determined that the proposed unlisted action will not have a significant effect on the environment for the reasons enumerated in the attached negative declaration form. I offer this resolution as read.
Second.
Okay, offered by Councilman Lupinacci, seconded by Councilwoman McDonough. Roll call vote, please.
Councilman Lupinacci?
Yes.
Councilwoman McDonough?
Yes.
Councilman Lombardi?
Aye.
Supervisor Schmidt?
Yes. Motion carried for 4 yeses. Okay, at this time, if the board is inclined to consider a motion to enact the law, this would be local law number 3 of 2017. So does the board want to move to enact the law this evening?
So moved.
Okay, it would be so moved by Councilman Lombardi, Councilman Lupinacci to enact the law. I need a second.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman McDonough. Can I get a roll call vote to enact the law, local law number 3 of 2017?
Councilman Lupinacci?
Yes.
Councilwoman McDonough?
Yes.
Councilman Lombardi?
No.
Supervisor Schmidt?
Yes. Yes, motion carried. So three yeses and 1 no. So the law has been adopted. It's carried.
Can I just?
Kenny, can I just say one thing? When Rob Lena came up, I know you were saying that you weren't happy, like with the permits and stuff like that. But what we tried to do is make it where people would need to be really serious about this. Because if we didn't have a permit process in place where they would have to go to the building department and to the clerk's office, anybody, you know, Easter time or whatever, they may say, hey, let's go get a few chickens. And that's not what we wanted. We wanted very serious, almost farmers to do it. So there is an expense to it. There is time management to it. And that's why we put the permits in it. It's not that, you know, that we wanted to make money. That was not even the thought. It was just to make sure that everybody understands that it's not easy raising chickens. I don't have any because I don't have the time to do it or the know-how. And it's very imperative that people out there, now that they are allowed, we are gonna hold them, you know, whoever does have them, to the code. And so the people that didn't want them, you know, we need to make sure that everybody is somewhat happy. And I know we can't please everybody, but that's one of the reasons why we did it. So hopefully everybody, you know, hopefully you can understand that. Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Susie. Frank, did you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to explain the difference in my vote. So I had issues with the law when it was originally passed, and my comments are out there. And originally, we had talked about a half acre. But now we're at 40,000 square foot, which, as you said, is less than a half acre. So if it wasn't 20,000 square feet then,
Less than an acre.
I'm sorry?
Less than an acre?
This is less than an acre.
Mhm.
So the public comment was, we'll have it at least an acre. So now we're 3,000 square feet shy of an acre. So that was my issue. Why, you know, why less than an acre, really? So we're the least of all the local municipalities, Somers, Yorktown, et cetera, we're the least with 6 chickens. I also had an issue, and I brought it up previously, that 15 feet from the property line, especially a side yard, you're just, and again, I pray and hope that everything goes well between neighbors, and those who are really serious about this are gonna take the time and effort to make sure everything is clean and whatnot. But we are inviting issues between neighbors, and I've already heard some things that, you know, we didn't move next to a farm, why you're doing this. Our building department is already busy enough. I don't think they really are equipped in the manpower that they have to have the potential that I can see for it. And again, I hope it doesn't happen, that, you know, people are not calling and complaining about their neighbors, and I hope people are, in fact, courteous to the neighbors. I would rather not see people using their side yards, because that is very, very close to their neighbor. But again, I've voiced my opinion on it. I explained my vote, and that's just my opinion based upon my conversations with many, many residents in town. So I hope everything goes well with it, and there are no complaints. And if there are, this is something that I think we would have to revisit at some point again.
Okay. All right, thanks, Frank. And I just want to mention that although Councilman Schneider is not here this evening, couldn't be with us, he does support this law. He would have voted yes if he was here. It was Councilman Schneider and Councilwoman McDonough that met with the residents early on in this whole process to discuss and consider the chicken coop laws. So Councilman Schneider was very proactive, as Councilwoman McDonough was, in helping to craft this law and bringing it forward. They did a lot of research on it, and he was very supportive of this. So we would have voted yes if he was here this evening. Okay, so we do have a resolution that we're going to be acting on tonight as well, because this is a voting meeting as well as a work session. And the resolution that we are going to be voting on this evening is a resolution accepting a proposal for the restocking of triploid carp. These are the grass carp in Lake Mahopac. The DEC has issued the town of Carmel a permit to stock the lake with 1,500 of these triploid grass carp. So,
An additional 1,500 from what was put in last year, correct?
last year, right, it's in addition to what was put in last year. So last year, they issued a permit for 200 carp. So with the addition of this 1,500 and the 200, that's 1,700 carp over the past 2 years that have been introduced into Lake Mahopac to help deal with the vegetation issue that's been an ongoing problem.
How many went in 20 years ago, or 15?
2,600.
2,600, so we're still about 900 short, but getting a lot closer.
Yeah.
And it certainly needs it. I was out on the lake last week, and it definitely needs it, so hopefully everyone will
Yeah.
start to see it. Phyllis knows also.
Yeah, and the biomass study that was done on the lake, it supported the amount of carp that the DEC issued the
Yeah.
permit for.
Yeah.
So they felt also, after reviewing the reports and all the research and data that they collected on this issue, is that the lake does have a serious vegetation
problem.
problem
Yeah, it does.
with milfoil and other vegetation that has been blooming and spreading around the lake. So it affects intakes on boats,
Yep.
propellers, swimmers.
Yeah.
It's just definitely out of control once again, and these 1,500 carp and the 200 that were put in last year are going to address this issue, because all they eat is weeds. They're vegetarians, so they don't eat anything else, and they don't reproduce. So what you see is what you get. So hopefully, with the addition of these new carp, it's going to help to mitigate the problems that we've been having with the weeds in the lake, hopefully. What was that, Dave?
Yeah.
Yes, we are. We're going to have comments on it. Yep. So at this time, we're going to go ahead and read the resolution. So Suzie,
Sure.
would you read the resolution number 1 on the stocking of the carp? from Lake
Yes,
Mary?
whereas Town Engineer Richard J. Franzetti, P.E., has advised that the Town of Carmel has received a permit from New York State Department of Environmental Conservation for the stocking of triploid carp in Lake Mahopac, whereas the Town Engineer's Office has also solicited proposals for the purchase and stocking of the aforesaid triploid carp. Now therefore be resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Carmel, acting as commissioners of the Lake Mahopac Park District, hereby accepts the proposal of Keogh Fish Farms, Inc., Keogh, Arkansas, for the purchase and stocking of the aforesaid triploid carp at a cost not to exceed $11,000. Be further resolved that Town Supervisor Kenneth Schmidt is hereby authorized to execute any and all documentation necessary to accept said proposal on the terms authorized herein. I offer this resolution as read.
Second?
Seconded by Councilman Lupinacci. Roll call vote?
Councilman Lupinacci?
Yes.
Councilwoman McDonough?
Yes.
Councilman Lombardi?
Aye.
Supervisor Schmidt?
Yes, motion carried. And I just want to note that the cost for these carp, the 1,500 carp, is being paid for by the residents that live in the Lake Mahopac Park District. So the entire town of Carmel is not paying for the cost of the carp. It's just those residents who have a special district cost that they pay for living in the Lake Mahopac Park District. And we did get 3 proposals on this. Keogh Fish Suppliers was the low proposer. They gave us the lowest quote of $11,000. And Owen and Williams Fish Farm in Georgia was $11,750. J.M. Malone and Sons in Lenoke, Arkansas, also gave us a price of $12,000 for the fish. So the fish was $7.33 each, and that covers the cost of the fish and the stocking of them in Lake Mahopac. So,
And we just may want to say thank you to the Park Lake District, Mr. Barnett, Mr. Maxwell, Ms. Perone, and all of the members of the hard work and sticking to it and all the efforts. So thank you, Park Lake District members.
yeah, good point, John. This was not an easy process. This was, the New York State DEC did not, originally, they weren't in agreement with the town of Carmel. So that's why they only issued us a permit for 200 last year. So with all the new backup with the biomass study and all the data and research that was done, it took a lot to convince them, but once they received all that information and they reviewed it, they agreed with the town that it was an issue with the amount of weeds that were in the lake. So yes, thank the Lake Mahopac Park District, their representatives at Barnett, Jim Maxwell, and others, and Susie and Councilman Lupinacci are the liaisons to the park districts. I know they met on many different occasions to discuss lake issues, and this was one of the top issues that came up in all the conversations that we've had. And I just want to add that my office received a lot of complaints and concerns from the residents who live on the lake, whose property's on the water, that the weeds were getting out of control. Please do something about it. Please help us. So that's what we did. We took that, we had a special meeting here last year, I believe it was, just to discuss the issue of the weeds in the lake and the need for additional carp. So I'm glad that this came through. I'm glad the DEC agreed with the town and the park district to add the 1,500 additional carp. All right, so that's that. All right. Did you have something you wanted to discuss, you wanted to bring up, Dave? All right, because this was a voting meeting, so you could come up and comment on the agenda items.
Well, it's about carp, but I'm not against it at all. I'm all for it. But oddly enough, just this week, the water doesn't seem as clear as it usually does. Maybe it's some sort of algae plume or something, but I know the old carp are way over their lifespan, and every once in a while I'd get a dead one, huge, at the dock. But this week I got three dead ones this week alone, and that's never ever happened before. And at the same time that the water just doesn't look, nice and clean like it usually does. So I don't know if there's something going on, some algae plume, I don't know, but maybe that should be determined before you put the new ones in. If there is something going on, maybe the state should test the water or something, because I never had three. And I've heard of others this week around the lake also coming into docks dead. So something's going on.
It may have been the really hot weather, Dave.
Oh, yeah? But this is just this week. I mean, they're there now at the dock, still floating dead on the bottom. Anyhow, just figured I'd mention that.
Yeah, there was actually another resident called and reported finding one over by the Dean House Cove on the west side of the lake.
Yeah, and I
Another
know
one
there's,
about the same size. They may be just dying off.
yeah, but
You know,
I got three this week. That's
the big ones?
The big ones,
the
yeah.
big ones, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, because they were put in 1996, I believe it was.
Yeah, I know they're old, but
They're old. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Okay, that concludes the, is there anyone else on the agenda items that we covered at the voting meeting? Want to come up? Okay, there being none, I need a motion to close the special voting
So
meeting.
moved.
Second?
So moved by Councilman Lombardi, seconded by Councilman Lupinacci. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, I need a resolution to open the town board work session.
So moved.
So moved by Councilman Lombardi, seconded by Councilman Lupinacci. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, the town board work session is now in session, and the first item is a review of the town board minutes of May 10th, 2017. Does the town board have any questions, comments, concerns regarding the town board minutes of May 10th?
Nope.
Okay, there being none, first item on the agenda, Ann Spofford, Town Clerk. This is to consider request to replace the current proposal from Iron Mountain for the Town of Carmel off-site microfilm storage. So there's a request from Ann Spofford. I am requesting an authorizing resolution to sign the attached agreement to replace our current agreement with Iron Mountain with regard to the Town of Carmel's microfilm off-site storage. Please include this matter on the next town board work session. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact me. I did speak with the town clerk. She couldn't be with us this evening, but I spoke with her today. And as her memo states, this is for off-site storage of microfilm for records that the town clerk keeps. So we keep records off-site, we keep records here on-site, but this is for the off-site storage of the records. And they actually gave us they discounted the amount of it. So I'm just going to read this quick. Attached, I have a proposal we've discussed on the phone. I was able to reduce your monthly storage minimum from $180 a month down to $160 a month. If you'd like to proceed with this agreement, I can have the rates uploaded for the June 1st, 2017 start date. Let me know if you have any questions, or please sign and return the document to get these rates uploaded. So there's a savings of $20 a month by renewing this agreement with Iron Mountain now, as opposed to waiting to renew it during the course of the year or at the end of the year. So I think this is good. We're saving money.
Kenny, is this in addition to the county? Because I know the county microfilms some stuff, correct?
Yes.
So
Yes,
this is in addition
This is
to
in
the
addition to
county?
what the county does, yeah. The county has some digitized records that they maintain over in Brewster, over in Southeast, at their storage facility.
Yep.
But this is in addition to those records. This is stored off-site at another location. It's in Pennsylvania, actually, where they're located. And this is something that's been going on I talked to the clerk about this today. This has been going on for many years. For over 30 years that we've been doing this.
Yep.
And It's in keeping with good practices for records, keeping them on-site and off-site. In the event that something happened at this location, the records would be preserved and protected. Okay, Town Board, are you okay with moving forward with the resolution on the 7th, authorizing this? Yeah. Okay, Frank, go with it? Okay. Okay, next item, Mary Ann Maxwell, the Town Controller. Mary Ann is here for 2 and 3. Number 2 is to consider budget revisions from March through April of 2017. Mary Ann, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. These are the budget revisions for March and April 2017. The first one in the general fund is to provide for the purchase of an active shooter kit in the police department. This is coming from grant funding. The cost of the equipment is $9,692. Number 2 is to provide for a retirement payout of accrued time for a civilian non-uniform staff person in the police department. Number 3 in the general fund is to provide for a sick time payout in the police department per authorized resolution last month. Number 4 is to provide for police overtime from revenue received from workers' comp. This is due to an officer being out on 207C. So we're providing $8,422 was the amount of the check. We're providing, increasing the overtime expense because we received that check. Number 5, we're providing for surcharge settlements of $20,000. Number 6, we're providing for damage to the airport park from anticipated reimbursement. I believe the reimbursement is coming from Putnam County due to damage at that park. Number 7 is a transfer for an increase in the charges and the record storage. This is a transfer of $1,000. This refers to the previous agenda item that Kenny just spoke about. The cost actually did go up, but they were able to reduce it by $20. But originally it went up, a lot more. But, they did reduce it. But it is an increase from what it was last year.
And by the way, thank Michelle, your senior account clerk, for negotiating
She did, yeah.
with the company to reduce the
did,
amount.
yep.
So she did a good job with that,
Yep.
getting them to reduce it.
So Mary
So
Ann,
it-
it wasn't 180 a month prior?
I don't have it in front of me. What was the,
They said it was
180
180, and they reduced it to 160.
no, it was lower than that. I don't know the exact amount. It went up to 180 originally, but
Yeah.
Michelle was able to negotiate, have them negotiate it down to 160. But even with doing that, we still have to transfer $1,000 from another expense line.
Okay.
I don't know the exact amount of what it was. I
Yeah.
can let you know, though.
All right, good,
Okay?
thank you.
Sure, yep. Number 8, we're transferring for unanticipated police overtime expense that occurred last month. This is coming from the general fund contingency line. The cost of that overtime was $25,565.
And Mary Ann, if you just want to mention, or I'll mention it, this was connected to, this overtime was directly related to the homicide investigation that occurred in town last month. So this was the police overtime that was, they were working that case very hard around the clock, and they did develop a suspect pretty quickly. So it was the Carmel PD along with the New York State Police investigators that worked very diligently. But this cost that Mary Ann mentioned, the $25,000, is the overtime that was associated with that investigation. Thanks, Mary Ann. Sorry.
Correct, yeah. And like I said, that is coming from the contingency line in the general fund. The contingency line, we originally budgeted $120,000, so we still have $94,000 in that line. Number 9 in the general fund, we're transferring for a salary adjustment per authorized resolution in the highway administrative staff compensation line. That cost is $2,575. Number 10, we're transferring for a salary adjustment, also per resolution in the recreation administrative staff line that was approved earlier, I think in the beginning of the year, but I didn't make the budget revision yet. And that's for $930. Number 11, in Carmel Water District Number 4, we're transferring for emergency purchase of water. That's $1,000. In Water District Number 8, we're transferring for the purchase of a flow meter for the water plant. That's $2,000. And in Carmel Sewer District Number 4, we're transferring for an increase in utility expense in the at the microfiltration plant, and that's a cost of $10,000 a transfer. And that's all I have for March and April.
Okay, that's it,
Next,
Mary Ann?
Yeah, that's it for that. Next item on the agenda is the budget revisions for May. I do have one budget revision for May, and this is to provide for the purchase of the 2017 Ford Escapes. This transfer, or we're providing for this purchase from a from a reserve that was set up for this purchase. So this is a special reserve that the board set aside this money. I think we originally set this reserve at $75,000 a couple years ago, and we've been increasing it since then, and it has $150,000 in there now. But you need a special resolution because it is a committed reserve, so you need a special resolution to take the money out of that reserve because it was committed for a certain purpose. Okay, so
These are the new cars that we're purchasing for the various departments in the town hall. They are replacing 14-year-old cars. The 2003 models that we currently have are in very, very poor condition. A lot of rust, a lot of mechanical issues. So these new Ford Escapes are replacing those 4 cars that we have, the current Escorts, that are going to be taken out of service. Actually, 2 are out of service already. 2 are going to be coming out of service following the arrival of these new cars. And we budgeted for this money, so it's not impacting the it's not additional expenses to the 2017 budget. The money had been budgeted.
Yeah, it's not budgeted in the 2017 budget. It was set aside in a reserve. So we're just basically tapping into that reserve. The cost of the cars is $105,364. So that will leave, approximately like $45,000 in that reserve if there's a need for another vehicle.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mary Ann. Any questions, comments from the board regarding the budget revisions? The budget revisions for March, April, and the budget revision for May 2017 that we just covered. Susie? John? Okay. All right, good. Thanks, Mary Ann.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, Rich Franzetti, PE, the town engineer. He's here for 4, 5, and 6. This is to consider, 4 is to consider request to award a bid for the purchase and installation of air conditioning unit for the Lake Cassidy Clubhouse, and we have representatives of the Lake Cassidy Clubhouse district with us here tonight also. So, Rich, you want to cover that one?
Thank you. The Lake Cassidy Park District, as Supervisor mentioned, received 3 quotes from a heating and ventilation and air conditioning contractor to install 2 5-ton air conditioning units at the Lake Cassidy Clubhouse. They received quotes from Scalfani Energy at $19,995, Action AC at $23,000, and Comfort Master at $23,754. Based on the pricing, we recommend that the project be awarded to Scalfani Energy for a cost of $19,995. Scalfani is a licensed contractor in Putnam County. The cost for the electrical work by a licensed electrician is $3,600 for a total cost of the project at $23,595. There are sufficient funds in the Lake Cassidy Park District budget for this work.
Okay. So any questions or comments for the engineer regarding the Lake Cassidy Park District Clubhouse air conditioning units that they are going to be installing at their site, at their building? Susie, John, anything? Okay. All right, Rich, thank you. Do you, Lake Cassidy representatives, have any questions, comments, anything you want to say? Okay, great. Thanks, guys. Thanks for doing the legwork on this and getting the proposals. Appreciate it. And you're doing a great job over there, by the way. I just want to mention that. Kudos to you guys, your committee, everyone. The place has really come a long way. It has big transformation from when, before you took over to now. It's amazing. And we get a lot of positive feedback about what you guys have done. So continue the good work. We appreciate it. I know you residents in your district do well as well. Have a great summer over there. Thank you. Okay, all right, next, Rich, number 5. This is consider request for authorization for water main repairs for Carmel Water District number 9.
So per the town board's request, we've attached a map planning report, short environmental assessment form, and correspondence from bond council with regards to water main repairs in the Cornwall Water District, in Cornwall Water District 9. The project consists of the replacement of about 2,500 linear feet of water mains located on Kirkwood Road, Rockledge Terrace, Vista Terrace North, and Vista South, at a total estimated cost of $882,000. A copy of the map planning report has been placed on file in the Town of Cornwall's Town Clerk Office. The purpose of this presentation is to confirm the town board's willingness to move forward with the project and consider scheduling a public hearing.
Okay, all right, thanks, Rich. As Rich stated, this is Water District Number 9. Their replacement of 2,525 feet of linear water mains. The mains in that area have been, we've been having issues with those, and this is to replace those mains as part of the Town of Carmel capital improvement projects for the various water districts throughout the Town of Carmel. This repairs will be, the cost of these repairs will be paid for by the residents who benefit from the water repairs in the water district, in Water District Number 9. So this is something that the engineering department has been working on, along with the operators of that district for the past couple of years now. The town comptroller's been involved in the process as well for the cost of this that's involved. And Rich, when is the work scheduled to, when do you anticipate the work being done over there in the water?
Early 2018, early to mid 2018, because of the process of having to bond it and then go out, develop this plant specs, bid it out. So we're the front end of this project, but it's something that it needs to be done to move forward.
So April, May of 2018, spring?
In that ballpark, yes.
Okay, all right, makes sense, after the winter months, so, okay. Board members have any questions, comments on this one? John, Suzie? This is the Vista Terrace section of town. About time, yeah, we've been having problems with those mains, so. Breaks and things like that.
Correct.
All right, Rich, thank you for that one. And Rich, number 6, this is the consider request to schedule a public hearing for the purchase and installation of AMI advanced metering infrastructure for the Town of Carmel Water Districts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 12, 13, and 14. These are for the, and I want to thank Suzie and John for bringing this forward, this issue. These are the radio read water meters that we'll be installing throughout the various water districts in the Town of Carmel. This is something we learned about a few years ago down at the Association of Towns Conference down in New York City that myself, John, and Suzie attended. And what we're looking to install is the state-of-the-art meters that are going to transmit the water readings directly to the water department, which is in the comptroller's office, as opposed to our residents have to read it physically locating the meter. A lot of people weren't even aware where their meter was in their house, but, or having the operator go out and locate the meter and then read the meter, send the reading in. So what we do is we send cards to the residents now, and they're asked to put the meter reading down on the card, send the card back to the comptroller's office, then they process the cost based on the reading on the card. But what we found were, I don't know if it's 50%, but there's a large number of residents who just aren't reading their meters. So what we have to do is estimate the meter reading. And a lot of cases, the actual use, the actual amount of water usage is lower than or greater than what we estimate it to be. And when you go to sell your home, we do a final water meter read, and they find out that they're $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 in arrears because we were estimating their water use as opposed to the actual use. This will eliminate having the resident having to actually send their meter reading in. It'll be sent in electronically. Radio read meters, transmit it right to the controller's office, and then we process the bills and send them out to the residents. It's going to be more efficient and more effective. So it's state-of-the-art things that we're doing, and we're trying to make it a little bit easier for the residents as opposed to what's going on now. It's kind of antiquated and old, an old system. So I'm sorry, Rich, I think I'm stealing some of your thunder.
You're not stealing any at all. You're explaining it correctly.
Okay. All right, so you want to cover it a little bit more?
So,
Sorry.
per following Supervisor Smith's explanation, a map planning report, which summarizes a lot of that information, a short environmental assessment form, and correspondence from bond counsel has been provided for the installation of the AMI, Advanced Metering Infrastructure System, in the 13 water districts located in the town of Carmel. The work consists of furnishing and installing approximately 4,600 meters in the various districts at a total estimated cost of $3.35 million. The estimated costs for each of the districts are as follows. For Carmel Water District 1, it's $60,000. For Carmel Water District 2, $1.82 million. For Carmel Water District 3, $375,000. For Carmel Water District 4, $126,000. For Carmel Water District 5, it's $40,000. Carmel Water District 6, it's $80,000. Carmel Water District 7, it's $88,000. Carmel Water District 8 is $295,000. Carmel Water District 9 is $118,000. Carmel Water District 10 is $88,000. Carmel Water District 12 is $87,000. Carmel Water District 13 is $60,000. And Carmel Water District 14 is $113,000. A copy of the map planning report has been placed on file in the Town of Carmel Town Clerk's office. And again, the purpose of this correspondence and this presentation is to confirm the Town Board's willingness to move forward with this project and to consider scheduling a public hearing.
Okay, thank you, Rich. So as the public heard, that depending on the size of your respective district, water district, the amount of users in the district, which is the amount of meters that would be installed, the cost varies. Obviously, Carmel Water District 2 is a very, very large water district in town, so they have the largest amount of cost at $1.8 million, but the other districts are a little smaller. So depending on the size of your respective district, that's what the cost is going to be, and that will be paid for by those residents. I'm one of them, John's one of them, you know, in our water districts. So we'd be paying a share or a portion of the cost of these meters over a period of time, 10 years, 15 years, whatever we're going to bond it for. So that's something that the Controller's Office is going to work on. But what the engineer is requesting is that the Town Board authorize scheduling a public hearing for the cost of this project and to, you know, to keep it moving forward. So Greg, when would be the earliest that we could schedule a public hearing for
Well,
this?
you're going to schedule the public hearing, you're going to have the order calling it on the 7th, which is your next meeting, and they'll be on the 28th of June. That'll be your...
That'll be the public hearing for it? Okay. All right, so we're going to schedule it on the 7th, and the public hearing will be on the 28th, June 28th.
For
So-
9, and the water meters for both the 9 distribution system
Yeah,
improvements.
and the water meters for both, okay, so it'll be for both. The improvements of the water main in Water 9 and the purchase of the water meters for the respective water districts. So they'll both be on the 28th, both of those public hearings.
So Kenny, what I would suggest, anyone in any of the water districts should look at the website and take the information that Mr. Franzetti has put on there and look at it prior to coming to the meeting, because it's a lot of information to take in and sit here, you know, if you're at the public hearing. So read it beforehand, before you come,
Yeah,
so you have a little bit of knowledge what it is.
we'll have it on the website.
I have not placed any of the map planning reports on the webpage, but I can do that if the board directs me to do that. It's not an issue.
Yeah, I mean, I think you should. It's only because the more information people have, the more information they have is better to me.
Consider it done.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, Mary Ann? Yes.
No, I'm going to ask him.
Sorry, I just wanted to add, on the map plan and report, if you were to look at page 5, I've costed out the annual cost of the debt as a 5-year ban and also a 10-year bond. A 5-year band, the cost per meter is approximately $155 per year. So even though Water 2 is the largest amount overall, that large amount is divided by the number of, obviously the number of water users in that district. So it actually, I have a spreadsheet that I can show you as well, that, it works out that it's $155 per, water meter customer if it's a 5-year ban. And if it's a 10-year bond, it's $85 approximately. for-
85?
$85 a year for 10 years. Okay, so That's also on here, so the residents can look at that, you know, to get an idea of how much it's gonna cost them. 5 years,
Specific to the meters.
right, right.
750.
So 5 years would be about
Strictly for the meters,
$155 a year.
Installation or just the meters?
No, that's installation, it's the meters, but it's not talking about any existing debt that those particular districts have.
Gotcha.
Right,
gotcha,
then if
gotcha,
you were to
gotcha.
look at,
Strictly for the meter
right,
project.
strictly for the meter, yeah. If you were to look at page 6, I have a sheet that shows the existing debt of those districts. You know, and then you add the new debt that will be brought on by this project, and then you have your total annual debt for those districts. You know, as a 5-year ban and then a 10-year bond.
So Marion, the
think-
installation is on page 6, and the water meters are on page 5?
No, ma'am.
No,
Installation and purchase are all the same number, the 85 or the 100.
Oh, that's installation and
Right.
purchase.
Right.
One's a 5-year ban, one's a 10-year bond.
What's
Yeah.
on page 6?
on
is
page
like-
6 is the existing debt of that district. You know, some of those districts, like Water 8 has a large existing debt. Water 13 has a bigger existing debt. So it's existing debt plus the new debt that
No.
will be brought on by this project.
Yeah, I have that. Over here.
Rich, could you explain what type of meters are going to be and the collection of data? Do we have someone drive by, or is it going to be cellular, or?
So we haven't put the project out to bid yet, so the intent is that it's not going to be a drive-by, it would be a cellular read or a radio read system.
Yep.
So that's what we're looking for, but there will be, the information will be sent out via a radio transmission, cellular, going out once a day, at least the way the specs have been developed, at like 2 or 3 in the morning, sending it to where it needs to go to in the cloud, the infamous cloud. That data is then collected, and anyone can look at it in the sense of, if you're a homeowner, you can look at it, and only select people within the town of Carmel would be able to look at it and analyze that data. And it would help the town be proactive identifying leaks within residences, so we'd be able to find it. It would also let people know, it would give people alarms if they travel, if they're snowbirds, let's say, and they're down in Florida for the winter, and their house freezes over, they would get an alarm saying, hey, there's excessive water use going on in your house right now. You're not home, what's going on? You know, so.
Or as crazy as when we were at the associations of towns, where neighbors were filling their pool with other neighbors' hoses, and they were able to detect
Yes,
that was going on during the day.
yes. So it would be, they'll be user-friendly, there'll be apps, it's only a personal app, not anybody can look at anybody else's information. It would be strictly coded to individuals and residences, so.
Now, Rich, if one of the meters were to break, whose responsibility is that? Would it be the towns or the homeowners?
Well, again, that might go into, if it's something that breaks within a warranty period, then that's gonna go to the warranty, but it's gonna follow our standard protocol. If the meter breaks because it's bad, the town normally picks up the bill on that. If it breaks because there was owner neglect, for instance, that snowbird went away and the meter froze, cracked, then therefore, it would be the homeowner's responsibility. But the beauty of these particular meters is that they have that alarm system in them. So if they are getting too cold, a message gets sent not only to the homeowner, but to the operator, and we'd be able to take proactive measures like turning off the water at the curb box, understanding ahead of time, so being proactive, turn the water off so it doesn't freeze. So before the pipes burst, have the water, shut off, and it doesn't just spray all over God's creation.
Okay, all right. So later on down the road, we'll explain all this to the residents
Yeah,
and
this is,
all.
yeah,
This
this
is
is
the
just
beginning,
step,
I know.
this is just step one, the
Yeah.
map planning report. We still have to get the specs out,
Yep.
and develop it for the various, to get it out, to get bids back in and have the installation. I apologize to tell you, this will probably happen in 18 itself, but it will, if we can move it faster, we will.
Okay,
I'm just glad it's being moved on.
Well, it's, now
Carmel's
it's,
coming into the 21st century.
yeah,
yes, we will.
all right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Thanks,
or-
Rich. Thanks, Mary Ann.
Thanks,
Rick,
man.
you have anything else? No? Okay. Thanks, guys. Yep, appreciate it. Yep, I got it right here. Okay, we do have our Highway Superintendent, Mike Simone, came in to see me yesterday, and he has one item. He couldn't be here with us this evening, but there is one item that he wanted us to cover on tonight's work session. So we're actually adding a number 7 to the work session. This is Highway Superintendent Mike Simone requests to purchase 3 used trucks. They're used trucks from a dealership in Massachusetts. 2 of the trucks are 2008 GMC 3/4-ton Sierras. They're 4x4 automatics. They have white exterior with gray interior. They're pickup trucks. Each truck is in excellent condition with low mileage. They come with bed liners and aluminum toolboxes with a amber light on the roof as well. These trucks are in great condition. We've purchased trucks, used trucks from this dealership in the past, and they've all turned out very well mechanically, and they're in really great shape. The third vehicle is a 2003 heavy-duty Freightliner multi-purpose utility box truck that the Highway Superintendent would like to purchase. So these 3 vehicles that he'd like to purchase for a total cost of $21,030. So $21,030 is buying us 3 trucks, and they're 2 2008s once again, and 1 Freightliner, heavy-duty multi-purpose. It's got dual wheels in the back, and I saw the trucks. They're in great, excellent condition. They were well-maintained mechanically. They're in wonderful condition as well. So the Highway Superintendent, this money is budgeted in the Highway Superintendent's budget for 2017, correct, Mary Ann? So he's asking permission for the town board to go ahead and purchase these vehicles. And we'll have a resolution on for the June 7th town board voting meeting, authorizing him to go ahead and purchase them. But he wanted me to cover this in the work session this evening, so we can have the resolution on to purchase them for the 7th. All right? Board members, any questions, comments? And I do commend the Highway Superintendent for going out and him and his staff and locating these trucks. So they're not buying brand new, they're buying trucks that are in decent shape that are gonna last for, many years down the road as well. So it's smart buying used if you can get good used vehicles that have low mileage and are in good mechanical condition. It makes sense to buy used and not spend. These trucks new would probably be between $35,000 and $40,000 each, new, the pickup trucks. And the Freightliner heavy-duty box truck is probably a $60,000 or $70,000 truck easily. So we're getting good vehicles for $21,000. So that's smart, and I'm glad the Highway Superintendent is doing that. So, Susie, anything else there? John?
No, thank you.
Frank on that? Okay, so we got that covered. All right, so that concludes the town board work session agenda items for this evening. Any members of the public that are here now would like to come up and comment on the agenda items that we covered this evening only. Agenda items only at this time. Ed?
I'm a little late, and my name's Ed Barnett. I'm the chairman of the Lake Mahopac Park District. I want to thank Rich Franzetti and certainly the town board. We got a good deal on the fish. There were about 1,000 less than our original stocking, the idea being that we will be able to have a better fish population. So we'll see. So the DEC was quite cooperative, and I want to thank Rich and the town board, and we got a good deal.
And
Thank you.
Yeah,
We
Ned,
thank you.
thank you.
for all your hard work.
I don't know if you were watching earlier at home, Ed, but we did thank you and your committee.
I was
Other-
in transit.
Okay.
It's hard to be in 12 places at the same time, but I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you, Ed. Thanks for doing the research on this and making the calls and locating the vendor.
My pleasure.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much. Thank you. All right. Okay, anybody else for agenda items at this time? Agenda items only? Okay, we're going to open up the floor to public comment on new items, new business. This is the open forum portion of the meeting where you can come up and bring up new business that's town-related with the town board. How are you this evening?
I'm well.
Oh, good, Angelo. Thanks for being here.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Angelo Presigliotti, and past district governor, past council chairman for the Lions. I am currently the membership and new club organization chairperson for our Lions district, which consists of Westchester from 287 north, all of Putnam County, and all of Rockland County. I'd like to begin by giving a sort of historical perspective, because it's important to understand who the Lions are and what we do. On June 7th in 1917, 2 months after World War I began, a meeting which is really not remembered, and it was never reported. It took place at the old LaSalle Hotel in Chicago. It was led by Melvin Jones, an insurance executive, who proposed a radical idea. The idea was community service. Why don't we take people in the community who are successful, and why don't we form an organization that promotes community service and helping those in need? He believed that this is where some of our talents and money should go. And that idea was adopted. It was never reported. It was never heralded. And most people don't even know the meeting took place. On June 7th of 2017, we will be celebrating our 100th anniversary. I am here because I am trying to form a Lions Club in Mahopac. We did have one. It began in 1975. The charter president was Dan Ryan, who recently deceased. He was Chief Executive Officer of the Putnam County Savings Banks. He was a good friend of mine, and I knew him well. Unfortunately, like all organizations, our club in Mahopac fell upon difficult times and ceased to exist. However, thanks to the efforts of Faye Butcher, chairperson of the chamber, and also an employee of Halston Media, I wrote to the chamber, and Faith was good enough to pass that message on to Bob Duma, who was the editor of the Mahopac News. And Bob wrote a very nice article about our efforts to start a club. We had our first meeting, and at that first meeting, Supervisor Schmidt was there, along with 7 or 8 other people. We signed 2 people up, including Corinne Stanton of Halston Media, and Faith's husband, David. We held a second meeting this past Friday. We got 7 people, and at the end of the meeting, all 7 people became members. I met with Sione Clark, who has the Allstate agency in Mahopac, and she joined us today. Now, who are the Lions and what do they do? Well, we're the world's largest service organization. We are currently in 210 countries throughout the world. We have more than 1.4 million members. Since 1925, we've been advocates for blind people at the urging of Helen Keller. And since that time, we had 2 Sight First campaigns to eradicate blindness. We were able to raise over $350 million between both campaigns. And that money helped restore the sight of 40 million people. And it has prevented blindness in millions of other people. And we still have a large portion of the $350 million. And so we will continue to use that money to restore vision and prevent blindness. We were asked to do this by the United Nations, their World Health Organization, and this was the first time we ever tried something like this. We are currently working with the Gates Foundation to eradicate measles. And over our 100 years, we have had many, many unbelievable projects. However, what Lions Clubs do and what Melvin Jones had in mind was that it should be a community-based organization. It's all well and good, these wonderful worldwide humanitarian projects we conduct. However, what do we do at home? What do we do locally? And that is why we need a Lions Club in Mahopac. There are many things we all know government cannot do. And that is why a strong Lions Club in the Mahopac community is what we need at this time. We will be having another meeting on Friday, June 9th. Hopefully, some of you will join us.
Where
And hopefully it's going to be at the Smith Clark Allstate Insurance Agency on Route 6 in Mayapack. I would encourage you to encourage others to join us. Once we get to 20 members, and I don't see any reason why on June 9th we can't reach that number of 20, we will apply for our charter from Lions Clubs International, and we will then have a Lions Club again in the town of Mayapack. I am very excited about this. Last year, I was instrumental in forming a Lions Club in Mayapack, and over the years, I've helped start 6 Lions Clubs. So I know how important it is. I'm a member of Somers. Somers, we have 124 members. Why do we have that number? Because the people in Somers see what we do. They see how important we are. They see how we can help the community become a better place. In the high school, our Leos are an incredible group of young men and women. 1 out of every 4 students at the high school is a Leo. We have 240 Leos in Somers High School. So what we can do in Somers, we can do in Mayapack. And it is my dream, and hopefully our dream, that what happens in Somers and what happens in the 47,000 Lions Clubs throughout the world will happen in Mayapack. Thank you very much for listening, and I appreciate your attention. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else that would like to come up with new business? This is the open forum portion of the meeting. Okay, there being none, we do have some announcements. Frank, as everyone knows, this weekend is Memorial Day weekend, and there is 2 Memorial Day events that are taking place in the town of Carmel. One is going to be in the Hamlet of Carmel on Sunday. The other is going to be a Memorial Day parade right here in the Hamlet of Mahopac at 10:30 a.m. Frank is going to go over the details of both of those events.
So this coming Sunday at 11 o'clock, which is May 28th, at the VFW Carmel Post 1374, Memorial Hall, 32 Glenida Avenue in Carmel, is the Memorial Day services. The next day, Monday, the Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 5491 will be hosting this year's Memorial Day services on the 29th. We will line up for a parade at Clark Place at 10:15. 10:30, we will march to the Town of Carmel War Memorial on East Lake Boulevard and conduct services at 11 a.m. On this day, we will memorialize our fallen comrades and the brave men and women missing in action. They asked that it would be their honor for your presence that evening, for that morning, and following the services, everybody's welcome back to the VFW post right down the block.
Are you going to?
Yeah, I'm going to both.
You want to both? Okay. All right, great. Thanks, Frank. Okay, Susie or John, you want to read the recreation news?
Because they're pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Sure. I'm looking at 2 flyers here. It's Town of Carmel Recreation and Parks Department 2017 Summer Camp. You have playground camp for children entering 2nd through 8th grade in the fall of 2017. Choice of place is Austin Road, Fulmer Road, or Lakeview Elementary. And that is from 9 a.m. in the morning till 3 p.m. You go to Quasi Amusement Park on July 12th. You go to Spin Bowling on Wednesday, July 19th, if you attend Fulmer Road Camp, and Thursday, July 20th, if you attend Lakeview and Austin Road Camp. We also have for children entering kindergarten and 1st grade in the fall of 2017. This is the primary camp. And these camp dates are June 26th through August 4th. There is no camp on August 3rd on July 3rd or July 4th. So again, the camp date is June 26th through August 4th. For the primary camp for the children, kindergarten and first grade, the primary place is Sycamore Park. That's 790 Long Pond Road, and that is from 9:30 a.m. to 2:30. It is shortened by 1 hour, 30 minutes bookend, and you will have a trip to the Putnam County 4-H Fair on Friday, July 28th. There is a non-residents and residents fee. Please register. Early bird registration ends this Friday. These have been out since March 1st. Susie read them last time. After May 26th, the prices go up, looks like $40 to $50. Please have your child's immunization records and medical insurance information on hand as you go to camp. They need the immunization and medical insurance forms, and you will have to fill this out during registration. You could register online at www.carmelny.org. It's all one word, carmelny.org/recreation under the online registration.
Okay, thanks, John. This is also Town of Carmel Recreation and Parks Department 2017 summer classes. I've been asked to announce this tonight as well. Registration opened on May 1st at 9 a.m. for children's classes, parent and me soccer and t-ball, soccer squirts, lacrosse squirts, t-ball squirts, total sports squirts, and more. Also, youth, teen, and adult classes. This is something that has been gaining in popularity, paddle boarding. So we now have intro to paddle boarding and advanced paddle boarding at Sycamore Park. We also have intro to recreational kayaking, sunset yoga at Lake Mahopac, painting on location at Lake Mahopac, and more. So these are great programs that are offered by the Town of Carmel Parks and Recreation. For more information on all classes and programs, proceed to the website that John just gave, www.carmelny.org/recreation. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at Carmel Recreation. So great things happening over at Carmel Parks and Recreation. A lot of programs that they offer. You can call them at 628-7888, 628-7888, and speak to them further about what's offered at our Parks and Recreation Department. One other announcement that I have, and that's regarding Memorial Day weekend. The Carmel Town Hall will be closed this coming Monday, May 29th, 2017, in observance of Memorial Day. So this coming Monday, May 29th, the Town Hall is going to be closed. We'll reopen on Tuesday, May 30th at 8:30 a.m. for normal Town Hall business. So unless anyone else has any other announcements, we do have executive session tonight that we're going to be going into, and it's with Rich Franzetti, the town engineer, to discuss a personnel matter, and also Police Chief Mike Kazari and Lieutenant John Dearman are going to be meeting with the board to discuss a personnel matter as well. So we're going to be closing the meeting. Yeah, no meeting. Yes, thanks, Frank. There's no meeting, no town board meeting next Wednesday, as it's the 5th Wednesday of the month. So, Bob, you can stay home next Wednesday. And Dave, so you get a night off. We'll be back here again on June 7th for a town board voting meeting. Right? So we're going to be closing the meeting from executive session. We're not coming back out. I need a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
So moved by Councilman Lombardi, seconded by Councilman Lupinacci. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good night, everyone. Be well. Enjoy your Memorial Day weekend, and remember those members of the armed forces that paid the ultimate sacrifice and lost their lives in defense of this great nation. Good night. Be well.